Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach.
Over the past few years under this pandemic, and it's hard to believe we're still, some level, still in this pandemic, we've seen so clearly what it is that binds the world, all the challenges, as we think about on Passover, both our world and ourselves as individuals, our echo chambers, all that divides us. We also see all the things, the little things that uplift us, that give us strength. I remember talking maybe now 18 months ago with a member who had lost a parent. And we spoke, and he said to me how grateful he was for his spouse and his family throughout this whole period he was going through of dealing with loss, and how much it gave to him. So yesterday we made a switch in our liturgy from praying for rain to praying for dew. Mashiva ruach umiri dageshem tetal. We have this beautiful grand ritual and musaf we had yesterday. Say, ten lirtzat artzech, our God and God of our ancestors, send dew to make your land lovely. Let dew drift over this blessed earth and satisfy us with the sweetness of heaven's blessing. Let light break through the darkness, that these stalks grow to you, betal, with heavenly dew. May dew flow down mountainsides like honey juice. May our voices rise to sing songs of praise as you break the chains of those who plead with you with tal. So what is the difference between rain and dew? Well, rain is seen, and when rain falls, its effect is obvious and immediate. But dew is so light, it's barely perceptible. In the early morning, you can kind of see the dew, but it's not seen, but yet dew still nourishes. And dew in our tradition has always been symbolic of spirit, the divine nourishment that comes our way at all times. And that's called dew in Kabbalah. And it's light, it's barely perceptible, but yet it still nourishes us. It gives, it blesses, it transforms. So when the people left Egypt, they seized their haste, their chipazon, and they found freedom. But as we recall on this day, as we begin to count the Omer towards Shavuot, they had to journey through the desert, the Sinai, and then all those 40 years of wandering to reach the promised land, because it took one night for the children of Israel to leave Egypt, or 40 years for Egypt to leave the children of Israel, the Israelites. And during that time, they were transformed, symbolized most perhaps by the manna, the heavenly food that kept falling from heaven. And day after day after day, through all those long years, piece by piece, it fed them heavenly food that transformed their insides, their fears into courage, their hate into love, their weakness into strength. And that manna was like dew. It was so light and airy, it was almost imperceptible. It was so from another world that it spoiled after just one day. Because man does not live by bread alone. Matzah. And the manna was symbolic of the other kind of food, the inspiration, the soul food that's needed for that work. In our tradition, we do actually compare manna to matzah. And we do not eat matzah because it is tasty. It reminds us that filling heavy food is not the only food that we eat. And to take us out of slavery, sometimes we need a big downpour of rain but then it's really the slow downpour of dew that really frees us and blesses our lives during the long journey through the desert. And what is that dew in our lives? It's all those parts of our lives that are often hidden, even imperceptible, that we discover are what upholds us and gives us strength and brings meaning to our lives in unseen ways. The love of spouses and thousands of small gestures developed through the decades and years. The little moments of true, meaningful personal connection that suddenly remind us of who we are and where we're going, where we come from, the care of community, the community member whom we barely know, but who cooks a pot roast and then becomes our friend. The community member who for the past 30 years has been sitting a few seats away from us and whom we chit-chat with and share our thoughts about our lives and shakes our hand after an aliyah. The sunshine in the morning, seeing the first flowers after a long winter. And the stories we hear from before the pandemic and during the pandemic of how the visits of people would just keep others going through illness and through isolation, how one person would give 5 minutes of their day every day to help them through it all. Those interactions we have to restore our faith in humanity and in the goodness and strength of our fellow human beings and of our own selves. The beauty of realizing that we are not as alone as we thought we were. The inspiration and courage from a book or another person, day after day, week after week, our regular calls with a loved relative, the wisdom taught to us by the world around us. Not the earth-shattering lectures or the trips to faraway destinations or the experiences that are touted by all, but that slow drip of dew, of tal, that brings blessing and joy to our days. Now on Pesach, we stopped praying for rain. We're free. But now that we are free, we see the journey across the wilderness and we realize that we still need help. We need help through it. It does not have to be earth-shattering. Just some heavenly food and love and care from our fellows as we pass through the wilderness of life on our way to the far-off shore of our promised land. Ten lirtzat achzech, our God and God of our ancestors, send dew to make our land lovely. Let dew drift over this blessed earth and satisfy us with the sweetness of heaven's blessing. Let light break through the darkness, that these stalks grow to you, the tal, with heavenly dew. Chag Sameach.